Keith will have more details on exactly how your weather's looking. So a hoarding situation is so severe, a home has become both a fire hazard, also a potential injury risk to emergency personnel. Another situation, police in a SWAT situation fire tear gas into a home and its remnants cling to everything inside.
Well, from Scene Clean, a 24/7 Minnesota company are Nate Berg and partner Randy Carey, because when these situations like these happen, there is a cleanup process, and that's when you need Scene Clean, your business. All right, well, first let's start out. Nate and Randy, how did you become involved in the business from the get-go? I understand you were both, are you both EMTs or you're
Nate's
first
EMT.
responders?
I've been in real estate and renovating properties for some government agencies for years. Nate and I got together, and he's been an emergency response professional for 8-9 years.
No, a lot longer than actually.
Yeah.
Close to 20, actually. I've been
20.
in the business. So that's actually where the idea came to me about 5 years ago while I was working as a medic. You know, we go into these scenes, and these poor families would be left to clean up after the loved one's suicide or homicide. And I thought, you know, we need to extend that into helping people after the matter.
Let's be honest, a lot of people don't think about the fact that there has to be someone there to clean up the situation, and maybe the person who's left in the home doesn't want to do that, or it's just too much of a job. You guys actually have some background, special equipment maybe. Give us some examples of what you guys may go in and clean and what type of equipment you may have to use.
Well, I shouldn't say all of them, most of our scenes have some form of biohazard to them. So we always want to make sure we're protected. We have our suits that cover both all the way feet, all the way up to your cuffs, and then we add extra layers of gloves on top of that. We've always got to have some eye protection and respiratory protection. This is really important. And if it's bad enough, we'll have the full face, which covers your eyes as well. Otherwise, we can stick with the partials. And then we always end up having some form of boot, a rubber boot, or a disposable boot on the ends as well. So when we're walking out of a scene, we can take off a layer without having to cross-contaminate. And everything that is potentially harmful ends up going into a biohazard boxes seen up front there.
You have to have some kind of strong resolve, or, I mean, this is not a job for everybody, obviously. It can be a traumatic situation that you're walking into, or even a hoarding situation, which I understand you feel strongly about this, that people have probably had some traumatic event happen, and that's why hoarding seems to be so prevalent.
Yeah, we don't look at hoarding as just removing junk. It's been shown through some research that's a lot more behind it, that there's a lot of times these people have trauma that have been unresolved over the years, and the hoarding is just a symptom of that unresolved trauma. So when we go in, we kind of try to embody the whole process, get their house clean, but at the same time we're trying to help them and get them resources for long-term success.
And I think that's a good question, because thinking about it, usually the hoarder is okay with the situation, and maybe the family members are just like, hey, we need to help you out. So you guys actually do deal with the emotional side of it, too, because that is a huge factor.
Yep. A lot of that support comes from a task force that we're a part of called the Minnesota State Hoarding Task Force.
Wow.
It's a group of mental therapists and city officials, and we're just trying to make a well-rounded program so that people don't hoard again. Works pretty well.
And why is it important to have a professional crew come in with, I mean, clearly protecting yourself must be, top of the list, because you have things like blood, and you don't want to come in contact with something that might be hazardous.
Why is it important?
Yeah, why is it important?
Well, just we don't want to get others sick, so we try and keep it contained, take care of it in the scene that we're in, and don't let it spread past that scene.
What about cost? Does insurance possibly cover any of this at all?
I'm glad you mentioned that, Don, because I wanted to tell everybody that when it comes to a biohazard cleanup, whether it's homicide, suicide, insurance oftentimes does cover that.
Okay.
I always advise people, call the company first. We will help you process your claim. A lot of times even the insurance agents don't understand that it's covered. But as far as hoarding goes, right now it is not covered. There is some hopeful changes this fall where it'll be covered under health insurance. So we're working with Medicare to try and push that through as well.
Is there, when it comes to hoarding, is there an increase in the hoarding situation, and are you finding that you're getting essentially more work because of that?
I think because with the legislature and the deaths that have happened with emergency medical professionals, it's become more common that society is just becoming more aware that this is a problem. Hoarding actually violates a lot of building codes. It threatens public safety. The professionals trying to help people neighbors and things like that. So it's
endangers first responders.
Yeah.
Right.
One thing I want to mention too is people that hoard, you know, their bottom line is they're ashamed usually, they're embarrassed. So we go through great lengths to keep everything discreet, keep everything private. In fact, the pictures that you guys are showing have actually been approved by clients in writing, so we're not just throwing people's stuff out there for them. So.
Good to know. Yeah, that's an important, the emotional and mental part of it too, not just the physical. Nate and Randy, thank you so much, you guys, for joining us. We appreciate you shedding light on a unique perspective. This is definitely a unique company.
We decided that if anybody wanted to see other photos, they could go to our website at scenecleanmn.com.
Scenecleanmn.com.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks to both of you.
All right. We got to toss it over to Mr. Keith.